Hello, guys. Sorry, it's a bit of a delayed reaction, and so apologies. I'm 2 minutes late to this live stream. So, welcome one and all to the stream about the live event for the November Apple event. What we're going to be seeing, what's to do with the MacBooks this time round. So, we've got lots coming up before that. I'm just hearing actually one second, I've just got to change my sound there. I can hear myself bouncing back on myself. But yeah, sorry. So yeah, we've got lots coming up probably in this event. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. So what we're probably going to be seeing is going to be probably at least two MacBooks this in this event, and we might see something else as well. There's the possibility we might see the AirPod Studios, and we might also possibly see the Air tags that have also been circling around for the last couple of years. So who knows? But anyway, first of all, a big hello to everybody, and give me a shout and a wave if you can hear me correctly and everything as well. So I'll just see if everybody can hear me okay. Brilliant. Yeah, lots of people can hear me. That's good. Getting the replies there. A big hello to everyone. So yeah, this event is actually one of the events I've been looking forward to quite a lot this year. Don't get me wrong, I've really, really looked forward to the iPhone event, and I've really looked forward to the new Apple Watch, like I've got here, and I've also really looked forward to the new iPads as well that have come out. For example, like the iPad Air 2020 or iPad Air 4, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's been a really, really good year. And this is one of the items I've been really looking forward to, a product I've been really looking forward to, is a silicon chip, an Apple silicon chip inside a Mac. It seems funny that back in 2010 with the iPhone 4, that's when Steve Jobs came up onto the stage and said it came with an A4 chip processor. And that was just a single core chip inside it. And then since then, we've had the evolution onto A5. We've also what gave us dual core processors. Ooh. And then after that, we've got the A7, which gave us 64-bit. And then since then, we've had things like the Fusion chip. And then we've also now got the Bionic chip, we've had since the A11 and now in the A14. So yeah, it's really looking good that they're putting this inside it. Just a quick thing to tell you guys. Do you want to hear a fascinating fact? And I said this in my last video. From the A4 chip to the A14 chips, that's 10 years, so 2010 to 2020, the performance of that chip has increased between 8,000 to 11,000%. It is that strong, that good. And you can see why Apple are flipping over now, as it were, instead of using Intel chips. Now, I'm a big fan of Apple for doing this, mainly because if you've got an iPhone, give me a big shout out if you've got an iPhone or if you've got an iPad. I'd love to know. Um, at the end of the day, they work sync together basically. So basically, Apple build their chips and their software, their iOS, iPad OS together, so they can build it from the ground up, and then they work perfectly well. This is the whole reason why, for example, that an iPhone 12, if you didn't know this, has 6 gigabytes, or iPhone 12 Pro has 6 gigabytes of RAM inside it. And then you've got these latest like Galaxy Note phones that have got 12 gigabytes of RAM inside it. And yet the iPhones are faster. It's because Apple work, like I said, they build it from the ground up. So if they can put this technology into their Macs, the same idea, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be unbelievable. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I believe we won't see an A14 chip inside the Macs. What we will actually see is probably an A14X or an A14Z, or Z where I come from, Z if you're American. So I'm going to say Z and Z either way. But yeah, basically it's going to have more cores than the A14 processor. And for example, if you check out my last video that I made after this event, I did a comparison of the speed between an A12 Bionic and an A12Z Bionic, what's in the latest iPad Pros. And there's about a 40% increase in speed. And again, in my video as well, one of my other videos, I showed that a normal A14 processor is just as fast as a 13-inch MacBook Pro at the moment. Yeah, at the moment right now. I think they've taken down the website because they're going to bring out some new Macs. But basically, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the mid-range one with a 10th generation Intel i5 processor, what's a quad-core processor as well. Okay, the A14 is actually just a smidge slower. And that's just the A14. This is the thing that's powering your iPhone and powering your iPad 4, your iPad Air 4. And yeah, it's the same speed as a $1,800 MacBook Pro. How crazy is that? So yeah, like I said, if we get a Xeon X, expect it to be even quicker. So yeah, that's going to be awesome. So let's just have a quick look, see what some of you guys are writing up here. Who is the winner of the iPad? Oh, the iPad was announced ages ago. I think it was Jesse. I can't remember his last name. That was done a long, long time ago. However, though, I do have a giveaway at the moment for an iPhone 12 Pro, but that's until we get 100,000 subscribers. I'll be doing that as a giveaway to one lucky subscriber. But I'm not really going to talk too much about giveaways on this event. That's not what it's for. But just to let you know, the iPad it's been undone basically. As it were. What was the other thing I was going to quickly say to you guys? So, due to copyright and things like this, unfortunately, I can't do a picture-in-picture of the actual stream. So you can't have me, if I get my hand right, like down in the corner down here, like a little square of myself, and then the stream all here in this space here. So I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste it below. In fact, you should now just seen it just been pasted. So it's my important information, and I'm giving you a link to the stream. It's also in the details in the description below this video, so do check that out. So yeah, I've just posted that. Oh, it didn't post actually. I think I know why. It's because I've put too many characters in. So let me just redo that again for you guys. Sorry about this. Just bear with me. There we go. You can see it now. So yeah, what I'd encourage you guys to do, sorry about that, is to basically open up one of those links on a separate tab if you're on a computer right now, or basically open it up on a different device if you're like on your phone or if you're on a tablet right now. Open up on another device and keep the stream open at the same time. So unfortunately, like I said, I can't do two streams at the same time. YouTube will kick me out basically instantly. Back in the summer when it was WWDC, I tried doing this, and I think it got 20 seconds into the stream, and YouTube went, "Oh, nope, you're out," and I got a copyright claim. I wasn't trying to copy their information. They just don't like other people streaming their information unless you've already got full approval and everything. So I don't have that, unfortunately. But yeah, you can look at it at another one of those links just there, what I've just put in. So yeah, do check it out. So yeah, I'm open to any questions right now. So first of all, I've got a question here, a few of them. Will there be a 12-inch MacBook? Personally, I believe there will be. Now, the 12-inch MacBook has got a bit of history behind it. So it was introduced in 2015, and basically it came with an Intel M3 processor, what was a really low wattage and low, I wouldn't say low powered, it was quite strong for what it was. But basically, Apple basically claimed, well, the actual MacBook didn't have a fan inside it. It was a fanless Mac, what was absolutely unbelievable. And on paper, this was a tiny little MacBook. It was super thin as well. I think it was almost thin. It was thinner than a iPad Air, what kind of defeated the object of the iPad Air, to be deadly honest. But basically, yeah, the super thin MacBook came out. And unfortunately, after a few days, flaws were identified straight away. So first of all, the processor, it was getting hot. if you basically try to do some basic photo editing, like in the Photos app, I'm not even talking Photoshop Pro here. I'm just talking Photoshop or Final Cut Pro. I'm talking just the basic photo editing, and you did quite a bit of it for like 20 minutes, an hour. What would happen is it would start to overheat, and it would start to do something we call throttling, and this is where the speed of the processor reduces due to the heat, and it don't want to overheat and kill itself. And that was a bit of a problem, first of all. The other major big problem with this MacBook, and it's for anybody who's owned a MacBook Air from 2018 to 2019, anyone who's owned a MacBook Pro from 2016 to 2018, I think it was, basically you got the butterfly keyboard. What sucked? It's full of problems. The keys get stuck and everything. In fact, there is a recall on them. Well, not a recall. There's a warranty claim that you can get them fixed. If your MacBook keyboard breaks, you can get it fixed by Apple, as long as you haven't done liquid damage or there's no big dents and scratches or cracks on your screen or anything. Apple will replace the keyboard for you for free. But unfortunately, the keyboard they replace it with is another butterfly keyboard. So it'll probably go wrong again in the future. And it just seems, how long will Apple keep replacing it? But anyway, back to the point. So the 12-inch MacBook, hopefully it won't come with that keyboard. It will come with the Magic Keyboard, what we get now in the iPad Pro 16-inch. And we also get in the MacBook Airs now as well, and also the new 13-inch MacBook Pros that came out earlier this year. So if it does come with that, I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. Because at the end of the day, look, if we've got A14 chips inside our phones and also in our iPads right now, and, I played some high intense games on my new iPhone 12, and basically the actual phone gets a bit hot, but not over hot. And yeah, with that, I think the actual A14X or whatever goes into this 12-inch MacBook, I think you could have another fanless MacBook again in a 12-inch form. And the best thing about it, because the efficiency of that chip, I reckon you could probably get somewhere between, say, 16 to a 20-hour battery life. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Obviously, that's just for your standard bits and pieces jobs. If you're going to do Final Cut Pro, Photoshop, yeah, expect a lower battery amount. But just for streaming, browsing, all of that kind of stuff, yeah, it'll be absolutely incredible. The other question I'm being seen here is the 14-inch MacBook Pro. So basically, yeah, a 14-inch MacBook Pro, I don't think is going to be seen here this year. The reasoning behind this is because, sorry, just one second. Yeah, the reasoning behind this why we won't see a 14-inch MacBook, it's not in Apple's way to do such a thing, basically. So what they normally do, Apple, is they normally make their specs in their current models for the moment. So we've got, for example, let's stick with the 13-inch MacBook Pro. We'll keep with that design, and then what they do is they put the latest specs in it. So let's say they put the A14 chip inside that. And then what they tend to do is when they bring out a new design, they will put the specs and chips of the last design in that one. So, for example, if it comes with A14, 16 gigabytes of RAM, they will move that straight over into that 14-inch Mac. So the 13-inch Mac of the last design and the new 14-inch of the new design will basically be the same specs. You just get a 14-inch display in that. The reason why I say this is because history has shown this is what Apple do. So, for example, right now, I'm on a 16-inch MacBook Pro in front of me. You can't see it, but it's the same specs and it's a 2019 model. It's the same specs as the early 2019 model, what was a 15.6-inch display, and that had the butterfly keyboard. I've got the Magic Keyboard, but it's identical specs. And the same thing happened again in 2015, for example. They went ahead with the Retina Mac, and then they moved over to the Touch Bar Macs. The specs of that last 2015 machines are the same specs as in the 2016 Touch Bar Macs. So I believe this is what Apple will probably do again here. We will see probably a 13-inch MacBook Pro, but I bet probably come March, well, before summer next year, March time before summer, we will get the 14-inch MacBook Pro, but it'll be the same specs as the 13 MacBook Pro we get here. However, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying that is what history has shown us in the past. So that's why I'm basing it on that fact. So let's have a look then. What other questions do we have here? Do we think the new silicon MacBook Pro will be faster than the current maxed out specifications MacBook Pro? And that comes from Zach Holmes. Well, Zach, I would say yes and no. So just like the example I just gave there, the A14 processor is more powerful than, well, it's just under the power of the mid-range 10th generation MacBook Pro 13-inch. If you get the cheapest, or the not cheapest, the base model 13-inch MacBook Pro with the 8th gen Intel processor in it, the A14 is way faster. Simple as. So I think, yeah, basically it will be faster to some Macs that are out now. Now, based on that kind of, it's a good point you just bring on that. That brings on to the 16-inch MacBook. I personally don't believe we will see a 16-inch MacBook Pro at this event with an A14 type of chip inside it. The reason is because at the end of the day, they've got the 9th generation chips in it, and they're already about a third faster than A14. And I can't really see Apple bringing out an A14 chip, what is just either just slightly faster than a current 9th gen Intel processor, the 6 or 8 core processors that you get in the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I can't really see them doing that. They would want it to jump and leap over in speed quite a bit, a 20% increase on that. So personally, I don't think we'll see a 16-inch MacBook Pro having faster speed inside it. Also, at the same time, I think based on that same information as well, I think we might get another Intel MacBook Pro possibly early next year, but around March time, possibly. And it will be an Intel processor. It'll probably have the Intel 11th generation processors inside it because they'll be launched by them. And the reason is because they'll be paired with a big Navi AMD graphics card, which just been announced. I can't, unless Apple surprised us today and they've made massive advancements in their graphics. We're talking, the Xbox Series X has just come out today. Well, by the way, talk about the Xbox Series X. It's just come out today. I've just done an actual unboxing of the Xbox Series X. So actually check out that video on my channel after this. But yeah, at the end of the day, Big Navi is faster than, the latest Xbox and latest PS5. Apple would have to catch up with that speed, and I can't really see that they're actually there yet. So, personally, I would say we will probably not get a silicon MacBook 16-inch, excuse me, something come up there in my throat, until possibly the end part of next year, maybe. And Apple even did say this. Tim Cook actually did say at WWDC 2020 this summer, we're still making Intel Macs, and there's still a few more to come out. In fact, they did that. They upgraded the iMac line back in August time. And I reckon there's still even more to come. And basically, we will see, basically, what will happen there. Let's see what other people are saying here then. Do you think there'll be a redesign? I spoke about that just then. Do you think there'll be a 17-inch MacBook Pro? No, not anytime soon, I'm afraid. I think I've just answered. The 16-inch MacBook Pro just came out. In fact, the model I've got here is the 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it's the first of the 16 inches. Apple keeps their designs for years. If you own an iPhone, you own an iPad, you will know they keep their design for a few years. Look at the iPhone 10 or the X all the way to the iPhone 11. It's the same design, isn't it, basically? So no, they will not be changing that design anytime soon with that. What else do we have here? Will iPhones, iPads, MacBooks, and Apple Watches be able to be found the same way as AirTags will be tracked? That's a very good question. I think, yeah. So you've got this new ultra-wide band. I can't remember what they call it. Is it UW chip or something, a U1 chip inside? And the latest iPhone 11, the 12s have got that. I think the watches now. So I've got an iPhone SE here, and also the iPhone Watch Series 6 has got them as well. And I think, yeah, you should be able to track it. And I think Apple will roll that out. And then they might even introduce that today. It'd be really good if they do, because AirTags have been in the works or the talk about for the last 2 years. So, yeah, they might actually finally release it today, what will be absolutely awesome. So, yeah, we will see. Let's have a look. Other questions. Like I said, I've already spoke about the redesign already. So like I said, I don't think we're going to get any redesigns. 14-inch MacBook Pro next year, most likely. 13-inch this year with the A14. And then those specs will be copied into that 14-inch MacBook Pro because that's what Apple history has shown us. Never been. But yeah, just quickly for everybody else, we're pushing a bit more on time. We've got about 6.5 minutes now until the actual stream. So what I'm just going to say again is I can't actually stream the event as a picture-in-picture. So you can't have me in the corner and over here have the main stream, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste a link to the streams again in the chat here. And basically what you guys need to do is just open up one of those links in a new tab and then basically keep this tab open up a new tab, or do a window, or if you're on a phone or if you're on a tablet, basically get another device, open it up on that so you can listen to this live coverage and also at the same time watch the stream at the same time as well. So yeah, I think we've got time for a couple more questions because we've just got just over 5 minutes. Let's have a look. Do you think we'll get an iPad Pro today? Now that is a very, very good question. I'm not too sure, I'll be honest. I was originally thinking no, but then now I'm thinking maybe, depending on the chipset. So we got the iPad Pro just refreshed in March time, and that's what 8 months ago. It's not that long ago. Apple generally do not refresh their products super quickly. I've only known Apple to do it once with an iPad, and that was, well, they've done it twice technically. They did it in 11 months between the iPad original to the iPad 2. That was the 11-month difference they had there in time. Then the iPad 3 to the iPad 4 was, I think it was 8 months difference. And I can't remember the reason why they did that. I think, again, could have possibly been actually a chipset upgrade or something like this. But that is the only time Apple have done it. If you think about iPhones are always generally 12 months to 13 to 14 months even this year replaced. I can't see personally the iPad Pro being replaced until next year, March time, because that's when it was last replaced. And they like to phase that. The one to be considering right now, what they should be upgrading in my head, is the iPad mini. The iPad mini right now has the same processor as the iPad 8th generation, an A12 Bionic processor. Nothing wrong with that processor, really speedy. Same chip what's inside the iPhone XS or XS and the XR or XR, it's the same chip. But you can buy yourself that 10.2-inch iPad for $330, and yet the iPad mini, a smaller design, is costing $400 with an A12 in it. So yeah, Apple really needs to kind of upgrade that to the new iPad mini 6 line. That would be good if they did do that today, even if they just stuck a normal A14 in there, and that's what they should do, personally. But they might do that next March with the iPad Pros, putting an A14 X or Z in the iPad Pros, and then putting an A14 inside the iPad Mini 6. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's have a look then. Chances of us seeing a 16-inch MacBook Air? Not a chance. The idea of the MacBook Air, it's small, portable, and thin, as Steve Jobs said. Don't think they'll ever make a 16-inch MacBook Air. I'd be shocked if they did, because it kind of defeats the object of it. The idea of it's meant to be small, thin, and everything. So no, on that one. Do you think it will be a 13 Pro with an AMD graphics card? Good question. I don't know. Personally, I'd say no. The reason why I say this is because, actually speaking, so Intel 13-inch MacBook Pros use Intel integrated graphics. The current, even the A12Z processor, or the A12 processor, or even the A13 processor, previous ones, the graphics are faster than Intel's integrated graphics. So I think they'll scrap that. And so I think they'll use their own. They'll obviously not going to use Intel because they have an Intel chip in it. They'll use their own, and I think they will use their own graphics for that, what will be very powerful. But like I said earlier in this chat here, it's not going to be as powerful as Big Navi. So no, I don't think they will put that in it. What else? What I was going to say again quickly, guys, we are 2 minutes away from the event starting. Just one more time again. Well, I'll probably say it one more time after this. I can't stream the event on here, so I can't do a picture-in-picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste in the chat here a link to where you can get the streams from right now. And then basically what you need to do is open up that stream in a new tab, a new window, or if you're on a phone or if you're on a tablet, open it up on a new device. The reason why I can't stream it at the same time as me is due to copyright. I tried doing this at WWDC earlier this year, and within 20 seconds into the stream, Apple kicked me out. So yeah, it's in the chat now if you want to get those links. So Apple have just refreshed their YouTube page actually just a second ago, so I think they're about to begin. So yeah, we're going to be just under a minute away. Let's have a look. One more quick question from anybody. Oh, they've started actually. I'm not going to start again. So yeah, the event has started now, guys. So use that link, what I've just done there. It's just about to begin. So yeah, let's prepare then for the Silicon Max and let's see what else Apple has to offer. So do tune in, guys, and let's watch together. This is going to be good. So just a reminder again, guys, like I said, I can't actually stream this event because due to copyright. But yeah, open up the link, what I've just put in the chat, to watch at the same time. So open up a new tab, open up a new window, get another device if you're on a phone or a tablet, and open up the links on there. I thought they were going to begin because they've started the music. Just quickly, who's got a MacBook? Let me know. Just put your thumbs up. You don't need to tell me what you've got. Just put a thumb up if you've got a MacBook. Let me know. Give me a heart, actually, if you're going to buy one of the new MacBooks before they're even going to be revealed. Give me a heart in the chat. I'm expecting lots of hearts. Come on. This is different. Normally, Apple are quite good at starting straight away. So the stream has started, guys, but it's just not actually beginning. It's quite unusual, especially it's a virtual event as well. It is 5 p.m. Oh, not 5, so it's 6 p.m. where I am right now, sorry. What is 10 a.m. PST time? Aha, here we go. It's beginning now. I can see it. The Apple logo's moving towards us. Oh, it's going to hit. Let's watch them. By the way, the reason why my head's tilted slightly is because my video of the stream is just next to the camera. But I am still here, see? The Apple campus. Wow, they're big doors. Huge doors. They've got a conveyor belt, say, on the bottom. I wonder if you can ride on them. Oh, here comes Tim. It is indeed, actually. That is true. Might get a new Apple TV, you never know. I wonder when that fitness is coming out. Those iPads are awesome. Not too sure on the mini, a bit expensive. Ooh, iPhone 12. It is indeed. I'm going to be doing a review of that. Yay, the Mac. Wow. That's pretty amazing. A little pre-video. So guys, just reminding you if you're new here, then basically I can't stream the stream live in a picture-in-picture, but what you can do is basically watch one of these links I've just put in the chat here, and yeah, open up in a new tab or open it up on a new device and keep the stream open at the same time. I can't do it due to copyright reasons because YouTube will shut me down instantly. Even Lisa Simpson had one. That's a good little advert. How do you get up there? Can you fall off? Oh, it's class. Yay, Apple Silicon. Here we go. Oh, which one's it going to be? Are we going underground? I wonder if they like that at different colours. New chipset. It is indeed. Yeah, I do apologise. There is a bit of a delay in the stream by about 10-15 seconds. It's just what happens with YouTube, unfortunately. No other streamer can do the same thing. It's just a problem with it. Let's see what it's going to be. M1. Ooh, wasn't expecting that. Let's see what M1 can do. Let's have a look. They're going to build it all into one, aren't they? Just like they do with the iPhone. Will it get extra hot if it's all in one chip? We'll have to see. It does indeed, because they're closer as well. That's going to be brilliant. 5 nanometer. $16 billion. Eight core. Okay, impressive, impressive. Is that 8 high performance cores? Okay, that's even better than I thought. Do we have low cores as well? Really? Oh, it's got 4 of them, then, or 4 low ones, I'm guessing. That's pretty good. You've got the shared caches there between the cores. So that's pretty impressive how that works. That's really good, that is. I can really see Apple here getting really good battery life out of this. Because if they design it from the ground up, like I said, with the software, it's going to be amazing. That you've ever created. Oh, good battery life. Let's have a look then. Which one? Wow. That's huge difference. That's incredible. 10 watts. You're going to get great battery life here, guys. Going to have great battery life. That is a big deal. But what processor was that, though, they're referring to? They have with Intel. That's good. 3 times. Graphics. So just quickly, guys, like I said again, I'm streaming this now, but you're going to have to click on the links I've just put in the chat there because I can't show the stream on my actual video stream here because basically YouTube would cut my arms off, as it were, or they'd stop the stream completely due to copyright. So open up a new tab with the stream at the same time. We'll get it on another device at the same time. Eight-core GPU, that's impressive. 2.6 teraflops. Okay. If you know anything about a PS4 and an Xbox One, you know the power of them. No, can't do that. That's an Intel like integrated GPU. And what is that latest PC laptop chip? We've got to know what it is. It could be a Celeron for all we know. Celeron's the cheapest Intel processor you can buy if everyone wants to know. It's a cheap one, cheap rubbish one. Does it? We'll have to see how fast that integrated GPU is, really. That'll be good. That'll be good. I think we'd have to see a benchmark of this, guys, to see how good it really is. I believe possibly the performance per watt, so really good battery life, but I'm not too sure about that GPU core speed and the 8 core processor speed as well. They just said it was just a laptop leading CPU. Well, which one? Like I said, you could say a Celeron as a leading one because Celerons are in loads of laptops. Okay. Oh, it's Craig. This is the thing what I was talking about earlier before the stream started. They could make the chip and they can also make this operating system together and integrate together to give you that really fast performance. A good question is, when does Big Sur come out? I wonder if it comes out today or tomorrow. What's he doing? Okay. That was a bit random. That's impressive. So this is about this unified memory architecture then. That's impressive. Let's see what games are like on this chip. So we thought. That's good. That'd be impressive. Does he remind me of Dr. Brenner from Stranger Things? I never thought of it like that. I always want to know if he wore a toupee on his head as well, Craig. It said 3 times more on Logic, but compared to what Mac? They're not benchmarking it against anything. Okay. That's like something what you have for your dishwasher, that logo does. Good, good. Ooh. Oh, okay, Rosetta 2 then. Because when it said Photoshop, if it would work on it, I was going to say, you might as well hang out a bit, because Photoshop's a big app to use. That's good. Yay. Let's see, that's what I thought we'd see at this event, some of the apps. So just to remind you guys again to watch this event. If you're new onto this chat here, you need to open up in a new tab or a new window and run it on that, and then keep this window open at the same time to get your live coverage. The reason behind this is because Apple have a copyright reason that I can't stream like a picture in picture, otherwise they'll shut down the stream instantly. So you have to open up in a separate tab. 10 minutes to do it. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Much faster, definitely. Yeah, just to remind you guys again, I'll just say it, and that is I can't actually stream this stream in this because YouTube would shut down the stream if I put the Apple stream inside my chat here. So that's why you have to open up on a separate link. Everybody else has to do the same, I'm afraid, if you were looking around on YouTube right now, unless they've got special permission from Apple. It's very rare to get. Only the odd few people have got that, unfortunately. So it sounds then M1 is very good and very transparent with moving your apps from Intel to M1. Maybe we might see some Macs now. It's the Apple Theatre. Or the Steve Jobs Theatre, I think it might be. Or maybe not. Back to Big Sur again. New Macs. Here we go. What have we got? Keyboard keys. That is tiny. This MacBook Air? Or 12-inch MacBook? Ah, MacBook Air with M1. Does look good though. I think it's the same design though, guys. This is the thing that I was saying. I think they're going to keep the design similar, but basically just put the chip inside instead. I still think it's a 13-inch MacBook though. Looks a very similar design. You're watching on your MacBook Air 2020. Cool. This is what I thought would be perfect for. Not super demanding tasks. This is what I thought M1 would be good at with its integrated graphics. That is indeed. That's impressive. I'll give you that. That's impressive. That's impressive. What? Yeah, what is that Windows laptop? You can't just say a Windows laptop in its class. Which model is it? It could be a Celeron processor. Well, yeah, because most people buy the cheapest laptop they can buy. So I don't like those claims that Apple do, like they did with the processor earlier, and then what they just said there, the laptop. You've got to say what you're talking about. What model? Yep, I agree with you there. Every day, everything. Fanless. I thought they might do that. Battery life. 15 hours, guys. 18 hours video playback. That's pretty impressive. Twice as long. 3 hours then, guys. On your Zoom calls or whatever. 1080p. Do we get a 1080p camera? We've had a 720p camera for like the last 10, 12 years. Please say we have. My MacBook Pro is a 16-inch one, the most recent one, the most expensive one. It's got an i9 processor in it, and it's got a 720p webcam in it. I'm not even using it now for the stream because it'd be rubbish. So I really do hope they put a 1080p webcam in it. I'm not sure if they want to do that, so God, if they would put wide and ultra wide. You don't really take pictures, do you, really, on your with your MacBook? It's just the quality's not the best. So 1080p upgrade would be the best thing they could do, really. Like I said, they've had 720p in them for 12 years. It's a bit ridiculous, really. I know I'm moaning about Apple here, but they just do need to catch up on that. Wow. That's a very good price for that. I'm not going to say anything to you, God, but that does sound better than the 2020 MacBook Air. The battery life, I will say, is very impressive. I thought they would do this. But yeah, that is a really good battery life. It's great for students, this tablet, not phone, tablet, MacBook. Can't get my words out. But yeah. We'll have to see if we'll get thermal problems. MacBook Pro 13-inch, I bet. It's got a fan. Is it the Mac Mini? Oh dear. Of course it would. That's a bit silly. The developer one had it, didn't it? Yeah, the A12Z. So all you had to do was pull out the chip and put the M1 chip in it. That was it, wasn't it? Mm. Basically, guys, what they've done here, Apple, have just upgraded the budget lines for the M1 chip. I don't think they're quite ready yet to beat Intel. i5 and i7 and i9 processors just yet. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, to get a budget Mac and a Mac Mini, that will be pretty awesome, I must admit, though. Let's hear a bit more about it. You find Mac Minis everywhere. Mac Minis, I think it's the least sold Mac, I think. But I do actually do like the sound of this. Okay. If this is a good enough price, guys, this Mac Mini, I might actually get one to review. I can't, because I've got a MacBook Pro. I wouldn't get the MacBook Air to review for me unless somebody gives it to me to review. 6-time graphics increase, that's quite good. But that is that Intel integrated graphics. It's showing all the games really, what's on iPads and iPhones. Again, the top selling PC desktop is probably just a basic i3 processor with a seventh generation for cheap, isn't it? They've got to say what model they're comparing it to. But the size is impressive, I'll give you that. That is very impressive. But there again, you can get those ITX boxes now. I don't know if you look it up. You can get a ASRock A300. Have a look at one of them. ASRock A300. Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. I do like that, the ports, though. So that's the right way to do it. Two USB-Cs and two USB-As, because if you've got your keyboards and mice using USB, or even just a pen, stick it in the back, it's definitely worth having that. That's not bad for the price. It was, yeah. That's like the old price it was before they made them go all black, the MacBook Minis, and they changed the color tone. I would say, guys, unless you really desperately need a laptop, I'd get the Mac Mini because it'd probably be faster. And look at that, 60% more of energy efficient. It's going to use hardly any wattage. And in fact, if you want a TV media box, I'd probably say buy one of these. It says up to 16 gigabytes of RAM as well. That's quite good. I would say that's very impressive. I'm actually more impressed with that Mac Mini than I am with the MacBook Air, I'd say, for me. Oh, we get another device. Yeah, MacBook Pro. It's got to be 13 inch. It's got to be the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the fan as well, I bet. It looks like a MacBook Pro. Yep. Yay, the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So I told you guys, 14-inch next year in a new design. This is what they always do, Apple. They put the specs in the last of their design and they make a new design and keep the specs from the last design, always in the first. Let's see how powerful this really is, though. Just quickly again, guys, I can't stream this event live due to copyright reasons, but you can open up the links, what I've just put in the chat there, to watch the event, and you can open it up on a separate window, a separate tab, or if you're on a phone or tablet, open it up on another device to watch at the same time with this live coverage. The big question is then, what's the speed difference between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro? Because at the end of the day, if it's the same chip and the same speed, surely they'll be identical. No, there's no Face ID sensor there. There was a touch bar one, touch ID. Oh, don't compare it to a Windows laptop. What Windows laptop? Tell me the model. What model? That's impressive with the 8K. It does have the touch bar, yeah. So are we saying they're the same speed as the MacBook Air and the Pro, but the MacBook Air will throttle to a lower speed because it doesn't have a fan? Is that what they're saying? Wow. Wow. Now that is impressive battery life. Yep. 20 hours, guys. That's what I said in my videos. 20 hours. How much is it though? It better be $1,200 or less though. There we go. There's your Touch ID. – 1080p camera though. That's good. Oh, the Pro Display XDR. That's impressive. Wow, 6K. That's quite good from the chip. I wonder if you could plug a MacBook Air in or a Mac Mini into that display. Yes. Glad they kept that price. For your education, it's worth it. I would say get the Pro over the Air personally, because it sounds like, well, I don't know actually. It's a bit of a tricky one. If you just want to browse around and things like this, then definitely, yeah. I think they've marked it up correctly now. If you're a Pro user, get the Pro. If you're just a standard user, get yourself the Air. Especially, it's got the same chip in it. Like, I want to do a benchmark of both the chips in both of those Macs, all three Macs, and see what the difference is. It is indeed. Basically, it's faster than integrated Intel processors, as it were, guys. But anything that's got like a separate graphics card in it, it's not. It's not. Well, anything that's basically i5 dual core or below, it's better. If not, it's not. But what they've just said there, though, guys, is well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you at the end of this video. There's something what I've just thought of. What Apple don't reveal, and it's a bit of a secret as well. It's to do with the performance, though. We can order it today. When's it come out? Next week. Wow, that's impressive. Yay! 2 days from now, guys. 2 days. Strongest Mac lineup. It'd be bad if they did. If you went backwards. Here we go. These processors are worse than we brought out before. think it's. I'll tell you about it in a bit when this video finishes about the prices. But yeah, I'll tell you about my thinking of the 16-inch MacBook Pro and also the iMacs and things like that in a bit because there's a lot to think about. The chime's back. I should never take it away. That's impressive. The coolness and keeping it cool. Oh, I couldn't look at a laptop while in the car. I'll be sick. It's impressive video. It's a good video. I got to admit, the M1 is impressive. It's definitely be better than Intel integrated bits and pieces, where they rely on integrated graphics and everything like that. Oh, look, Tim's got one as well. What's the price? You've just missed it, Epic Apple stuff. The MacBook Air is going to be $999, and the MacBook Pro is going to be $1,299, and the Mac Mini is going to be $699 US. They have brought us some impressive tech this year, Apple have, especially in the last 2 months, like they've said. Yeah, 2021 to me is going to be the big one for me with the M1. Well then, guys, that's the end of the stream. So yeah, wow, that was really, really good to just let me just close down the stream from my point. But yeah, that was a really, really interesting stream we've just seen there. So yeah, first of all, then the actual M1 processor. Let's cover that first of all. So that is the main point. That is the star of the show. That is that processor. So I'll be honest with you, I was not expecting it to be called M1. The reason behind the M1, I'm guessing it stands for Mac. Stands for M1. Stands for Mac 1 because it's the first Mac integrated chip on that. So first, what they showed there, guys, was the actual chip. I really like the idea that they put everything, housed everything into one chip, just like they've done on iPhones, just like they've done on iPads and everything like that. So yeah, that is really, really good. Now, those cores they've done, I think it's quite impressive as well, where you've got 8 cores, you've got 4 high-performance cores, and you've got 4 low-performance cores. And that is very similar to how the iPhone and the iPad A chips are set up. Well, they've been set up like that since about the A8 or so, or the A9 sort of chip. They've been doing that. They've been splitting them into low-performance and high-performance cores to give you better battery life. So that is really, really impressive. The other thing as well, I'm really, really glad to see is that integrated graphics. Now, that graphics, from looking at it, is not as powerful as what you would get in, say, let's say, an AMD or an NVIDIA graphics card at the top of the range. And to be honest, I was expecting that. I'll be deadly honest. I said that in my previous other videos running up to this, that it wouldn't be. I couldn't see Apple making that huge jump. At the end of the day, the new NVIDIA 3000 series and the new big Navi AMD, they're faster than the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And talking about the Xbox Series X, just quickly here, I got one today. And check out my channel afterwards to see the review for the Xbox Series X, my unboxing of it. So yeah, do have a look at that. But yeah, going back, I've got a bit of topic there. I've got to play that in a bit. I'm going to get a PS5 as well to do a review about that and unboxing. So yeah, do tune into that. But yeah, back to the graphics. I couldn't see Apple making their chips that powerful. But what is impressive is that they managed to beat the power of an integrated Intel processor's graphics. They are not powerful. They are weak. And I thought for years they're really, really weak. In fact, whenever I was buying myself a Mac in the past, I always made sure I had to buy myself the 15-inch MacBook Pros, for example, because you'd get the extra graphics on top, basically. You wouldn't get the Intel integrated graphics, what you do, but you also get an external graphics, as it were, built in. What is far more powerful, because Intel's one was rubbish. So it's really, really good to see that Apple have built that up and made it super powerful. Now, how powerful that chip is, that graphics is going to be, we do not know at this stage. I'm going to say we're going to have to see benchmarks. But earlier on in the year at WWDC, they showed Tomb Raider, one of the Tomb Raider games that came out a couple of years ago, and they showed that running. And at the day, that was a game that came out on like the Xbox One and also on the PS4. And at your day, if it can run that kind of graphics, we're talking kind of PS4, early Xbox One kind of graphics power. What is far more impressive than the Intel integrated rubbish that you get right now. So yeah, that's really, really good. Now, with that graphics though, they were saying that you'd be able to do high performance tasks and things like this, and I believe you will be able to. This is the great thing about Mac making their own M1 chip. What they can do is they can build Big Sur from the ground up with the M1 chip at the same time and tap into all the capabilities and cores and everything to make it just work. It's one of the great advantages. This is why with the iPhone, I said this before the event, with the iPhone 12, for example, or the iPhone 12 Pro, it has got 6 GB of RAM in it, and yet the benchmark, it's like about 60% faster than a Snapdragon latest processor, which is it the 875? I can't remember. Can't remember what it is now off the top of my head. But yeah, whatever it is, the latest one, it is like about 30-40% faster than that chipset. And yeah, phones like the Samsung Note 20 Ultra have 12 GB RAM in them, and this only has 6. So the reason that's behind that is because of the iOS built into the iPhone being built with the processor at the same time. And that is what the point of M1 and macOS together will do. It will give you that capability. Now, going forwards then, with this chip, I was really impressed that you'd be able to get such a low amount of wattage being used with the chipset. So that's really, really good. And we've seen that. They've showed that off with those two MacBooks that we'll talk about in a second, showing that you can get a far better battery life. And that is probably, to me, the most impressive thing what they've done here is that. So yeah, that is really, really good. So let's talk a bit more then about the actual MacBooks then now. So first of all, the MacBook Air. Now, we weren't expecting a redesign. Well, I wasn't expecting a redesign. Like I said before this event started, what they tend to do is that they upgrade their current designs first with the latest specs, and then say next year when they need to do a new design, they use the specs from the last design. So we saw this in 2015, for example. They've done this about 3 or 4 times in Mac's history, and they've just repeated it again from the looks of it. So say in 2015, when we had the Retina MacBooks, basically the specs in that last 2015 MacBooks were put into the Touch Bus 2016 MacBooks. They were exactly the same specs, just a new design. And I believe that's what will happen next year. And we will probably see possibly a new design MacBook Air, maybe, don't know, because they only just redesigned it in 2018. So that would be a short life of that redesign. However, though, the MacBook Pro 13-inch, I believe definitely we will see a 14-inch MacBook Pro next year in 2021, but it will have that M1 processor inside it and the same specs, just a new design. So yeah, let's talk a bit more about the Air then. So it's interesting to see that it's a fanless Mac, what's really, really good, and that it will keep cool. Like I said, I've got our iPhones now, the latest one's got an A14, and the iPad 4 has an A14 chip inside it. And yeah, um, they don't get hot if you use powerful apps. I've not noticed them going really, really hot. They get warm, but so does everything. But yeah, it's really good that Apple have done that with it. And the battery life you get with that M1 chip is quite impressive as well with that. I think they were saying, what was it, up to 16, 18 hours, I think it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, something like that was really, really good and really, really impressive what you got inside that. The ability as well, like they said, it was faster than, or 2.5 times faster than the last MacBook Air. Now, the thing to be careful about here, guys, and this is what I was going to say in the video, but I didn't want to interrupt it, is Apple base their 2.5 times faster than the last generation than the base models of their last MacBook Airs or MacBook Pros or whatever. So this is the cheapest model you can buy of the MacBook Air, what was available yesterday, as it were. They base it on 2.5 times that. So if you bought a spec'd up MacBook Air and you buy this MacBook Air, this new one coming out, expect only about a 0.4% speed increase or 0.5, I don't know, something like that. It will not be the same on that. So it's a bit cheeky that Apple do that. And that was one thing I did not like in this event here, what they just did there. This thing is 2 times faster or 3 times faster or 5 times faster than the lead selling laptop in the world right now. And at the end of the day, the lead selling laptop always is one of the cheapest laptops you can buy. Go and meet your friends. How many of your friends, if they don't own a Mac, if they own a Windows laptop, unless they're a gamer, who owns a top end laptop, a really super powerful one? No one really does. Everyone buys kind of the cheap mid range ones. So for them to make that claim, it's a bit cheeky, I think, in a way. Yes, it is faster, and MacBooks do that, but you're paying that premium, that price. The MacBook Air is $999, and that Windows machine they're comparing it to is about $350. Well, yeah, of course it's going to be 3 or 4, 5 times faster because it's slower, isn't it? It's cheaper. It's 1/3 of the price. So yeah, it will. It's just a bit crazy there, and they made that claim. But yeah, it is impressive to see that. The other thing was the MacBook Pro as well. So the MacBook Pro, yeah, that was really, really good. Again, they kept that same 13-inch design. Like I said, next year we'll probably get the 14-inch design. But the thing is, what they have put into it is a fan. Now, this is the bit what's making me scratch my head, and that is if the MacBook Air has an M1 processor in it, and the MacBook Pro 13-inch has a M1 processor in it, are they the same speed? Because it kind of making me scratch my head. Why would you buy the Pro over the Air if they are the same power? If they're exactly the same chip inside them, it doesn't. Why would you pay more for the Pro? Yes, it has a better battery life. Yes, you get the touch bar, but it's just making me scratch my head. And then it makes me also wonder, that fan, is it needed? Is it really important in the Pro? Because if the MacBook Air hasn't got it, does that mean the MacBook Air is going to throttle? So if you opened up Final Cut Pro on your actual MacBook Air or an M1 processor, and you start putting 8K or 4K video into it, is it going to overheat or will it start to throttle? That basically throttle means that the speed slows right down. And that's a bit worrying if it does do that with it. But then if it doesn't, if it stays at the same speed as the MacBook Pro 13-inch, why buy yourself a MacBook Pro? It doesn't really make sense to me, to be deadly honest. I really don't get why they both got the same chip in it, unless the speed is different. And I guess the only way we're going to find that out is when they get released next week. It was next week, by the way, guys. And basically, the speeds are different on both of the chips. So we will have to find out on that. But yeah, back to the Pro. Like I said, they kept the same design. You've got Touch ID, you've got everything like that. That battery life is incredible. The reason is because the MacBook Pro is thicker than the MacBook Air, so they can put chunkier batteries. Well, I wouldn't say chunky, but chunkier than the MacBook Air's battery. And yeah, because of that, you get that 20-hour battery life. What is impressive? That is super impressive. That's more than a day's charge. If you're just streaming or just typing letters or things like that, that is really, really, really incredible. To have a 20-hour battery life, that is unheard of. So yeah, the prices I think are a bit fair and a bit disappointing. Personally, I think the MacBook Pro with the M1 processor should have been $100 less. It's coming out at $1,299. Remember, there's only going to be one model spec. Well, I say one model spec. You probably might be able to pick more RAM inside it. So you might be able to, I can't remember if I saw it there, if it said you could pick 16 or 32 gigabytes RAM. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to have a look at the website. Someone's just saying just there. I'll have to have a look in a bit. But yeah, that's probably the only differences. That and storage. It's the only differences you'll be able to do. But yeah, I was expecting it to be about 1,199 US dollars, or even $1,099. And then the same with the Air. I was expecting to bring that down another tier as well. I was expecting to bring it out at 899. I know they brought it up 899 for students, but 899 for everybody, and then maybe something like 849 for students. I don't know. That's what I was hoping, because at the end of the day, they haven't got a contract with Intel anymore to make these chips. It's their own chips, so it shouldn't, in theory, cost as much. So just one of those things. But the other thing as well, it's impressive, but it was a bit of a cheek. I did like the idea of it, was the new Mac Mini as well. So obviously, all they've just done is they've just grabbed that developer kit Mac Mini, what had the A12Z in it, pulled out the chip, and just gone, oh, here we go, here's an M1 chip, solder it in, clip it in, whatever the way how it's done. Ta-da! New Mac Mini. And that's why they've done that. And to be honest, the price of that wasn't too bad. I will give you that, $699 on that one for a Mac. That's fair. That's fair. That price. I did like it down. They brought it down by $100. $799 would have been a bit too much. It would have been nicer to see it at $599, because that would have really compare it to a Windows machine. But you're getting that Mac experience, what is unique and is different on that one. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of him, but there is a big difference there. That Mac Mini is going to be super efficient with it as well. And I believe that possibly that might, if they are changing the speeds of the cores and the processors inside it, that Mac Mini might have the most powerful M1 chip inside if they have changed it, because you've got a constant electricity source coming in. You're not running off a battery. But they even showed there the wattage change as well. So it's going to be a really, really low wattage Mac. What's really, really impressive, definitely, that we've seen there. So yeah, it was really interesting. The other things that we didn't see, then, obviously this year, we didn't see just now, we did not see a new MacBook Pro 16-inch. We'll come to in a second. And we didn't see an iMac with a M1 chip in it either. Now, I'm going to tell you my reasoning behind this. I believe Apple are just not there yet. They might be next year. Well, they've got a 2-year transition over, and I think they're just not there yet. They're very, very close. Like I said before the event began, the A4 chip, what was the first Apple chip that came out for the iPhone 4, to the A14 chip, what we have now inside the iPhone 12 and the iPad Air 4, basically, there is about an 8,000 to 11,000% on average speed increase, depending on where you go for your benchmarking. But that is incredible increase in speed. So, this is what I mean. They're not quite there yet for graphics and things, and I think they want to get it right. So personally, I think next year we might see at the beginning of the year a MacBook Pro with 16-inch MacBook Pro, what has a Intel processor in it again, possibly the 11th gen, and then also AMD Big Naffy graphics paired with it. And then possibly, I would say, into early 2022 or even the end of 2021, if they don't upgrade those MacBook Pros on the beginning half of next year, then we would see an integrated M2 processor probably inside a 16-inch MacBook Pro with the integrated graphics. Like I said, the graphics inside the 16-inch MacBook Pro right now, it's not super good. It's probably about, I can't even put my finger on it, but if I was to say it, it's probably about as impressive as, say, a PS4 Pro or an Xbox Series X kind of graphics. It's nowhere good as a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. Sorry, I just said Xbox Series X first, an Xbox One X, sorry. But it's nowhere near as I said Xbox Series X or PS5 graphics. It's not up to that scratch. But basically, Apple would have to beat the current graphics what's inside their MacBook Pro right now, the 16-inch. And I think they're a bit away from that. So this is what I said, this time next year maybe, or maybe March 2022, we'll see that. And it's the same with the iMac. It's exactly the same reason behind that. I believe we might see the 21-inch iMac now changed early next year, March time. Because at the end of the day, all they have to do is pull out that same board out of the Mac Mini, stick it inside the iMac, and ta-da, off it goes, sort of thing. Ta-da, you've made an iMac. Really, really, really simple to do that. So they might do that, but the 27-inch iMac, no. Again, we might not see that upgraded until 2022. And part of my reasoning behind that as well is just in August time, 3 months ago, they just upgraded the Intel iMacs with the 10th generation Intel processors inside it. They're not going to be upgrading those 27-inch iMacs for at least another year. it just wouldn't make sense. So I think they're waiting until it. In fact, it'll probably be one of the last Macs to get in that 2-year transition. It'll be the last one to do it. Remember, the transition started today. So we're talking end 2022 is the end of the transition. The transition that's close to 2023, that is when it will finish. Obviously, the last machine to get M3 or whatever it will be by then in 2022 will be the Mac Pro, the big tower, the expensive, huge $7,000 tower. That is the one that will get the last to get the integrated silicon inside it. But yeah, just a few other notes and bits and pieces. Again, it was a bit of a shame that we didn't see any AirTags today. Do me a sad face if you were expecting to see AirTags or AirPod Studios. That was something else as well that's been in the pipeline. So yeah, show me some sad faces, please, emojis. If you wanted to see them today, I was a bit disappointed, I'll be honest. AirTags, where are they? Come on, Apple, get them out there. They're not difficult. We've got a company like Tile, for example, who have made AirTags and variants sort of thing. And, it's not going to be that difficult to upgrade the Find My app and bring out these AirTags. Really, really looking forward to getting to it. In fact, there was a leak recently for AirTags on one of the keychain sort of things. So yeah, I might do another AirTags video in the near future. But yeah, some disappointed faces there. But yeah, that was quite disappointing. The other thing as well was the AirPod Studios. If you don't know what AirPod Studios are, check out my other videos here on my channel to see what they are. But what AirPod Studios are basically just Apple headphones. Not these. These are the AirPods here. These are AirPod Pros. So not these. So these are the ones that come over your head like that. Proper old school. And those will be the Studios. And supposedly there's going to be two versions. There's going to be a Sport and there's going to be a Pro version of them. But no, didn't see them today. Maybe March next year. Fingers crossed we will see them there. But then having said that, I was kind of thinking AirTags might have been released today. But because of COVID-19, it's kind of thinking, why would you release it? The idea of the tags is that if you go out and about and you lose something, you can find it. Don't know about you, but where I am here in the UK right now, in Great Britain, we're in lockdown again and you can't go out. So yeah, it's kind of Apple's encouraging people to buy AirTags and go out and lose their things. It's kind of maybe they've shelved it until COVID dies down a bit. It kind of would make a bit of sense maybe to do that. The other thing as well is people are also saying here, how about AirPods? Pros like this, AirPod Pros 2 and AirPod Pro 3s. Again, if you watch my other videos, I kind of expect them not to be coming out. Remember, AirPod Pros only came out a year ago, and so did AirPod 2s, the normal ones. So the AirPod 3s and the Pro 2s I personally cannot see them coming out to at least March next year. That would be the earliest. They're not going to do it any earlier than that. Remember, guys, the AirPods originally came out with the iPhone 7, right? That's when they came out. And, we had the iPhone 7, the 8, the 10, and then we had the 10S, and then we had the 11 as well. So that was 4 years later until we got the AirPods 2. So, we've only had the AirPods 2 for a year. I can't see them doing it. They might not even do it next year. I cannot see them upgrading them anytime soon. So if people are looking for AirPods to come out before the end of this year or before March at least next year, I don't think they will. I really, really don't think they will at all. So yeah, let's check out some of your questions that you guys have been asking though here in the chat. Here, someone says here, I bought a Pro 2 days ago. I think that's from Rodrigo. You'd probably be able to send it back and get a replacement. Apple have been known to do that. So if anyone who's just bought themselves a MacBook Pro from a shop, you can normally take them back. They're normally very good, Apple, and switch them for the newest design. If you've got a brand new one, obviously, if you've got your receipt and everything, make sure you take that as well. So, yeah, what else have we got here? So, what's changed between the Silicon and the Intel Mac Pro? Mainly just that processor. And I believe, like I've explained earlier, after the stream finished, what my thoughts are about the changes of that. I do think it is the way forwards, definitely, that new M1 processor, and they are definitely going to be better than the integrated sort of i5 quad-core processors that are beats an i3, beats a Celeron Intel processors, but they're not there yet as powerful as i7s or i9 processors yet, and that's why we didn't see a 16-inch MacBook Pro or a Mac Pro upgrade or an iMac upgrade, because they use far more powerful chips right now, but they're coming. They are coming. What about a new iPod Touch? Yes. It's a very good question. When was the last iPod Touch updated? I think it was 4 years ago now, wasn't it? So yeah, it's possibly hinging on the end of iOS capability and support. So yeah, probably next year they might upgrade the iPod Touch, but to be honest, not many people are using iPod Touches. The last time I saw an iPod Touch being used, actually, it was quite a genius idea. I don't know if people see this. It was in a restaurant. I went for a meal out, and someone was using an iPod Touch because it slips in your pocket and take your orders. I thought it was a really good idea. I thought she had a phone, but then I realised, no, you've got an iPod Touch there. And I thought, that's actually a really good idea because an iPad's a bit big. Even an iPad mini's a little big to walk around with and everything. But yeah, it was a really good idea. Fingers crossed next year, I will look into that. And if there is some information about it, I will put some information on my channel to show you guys if we will get a upgraded iPod Touch. What else does it say here? So how many devices has Apple come out with? So if you've just missed the event, they brought out 3 new devices. So they brought out the iPad Air, they brought out the Mac Mini, and they also brought out the MacBook Pro as well. So yeah, and somebody else just mentioned here, what about the 16-inch, or what should I pick, the 16-inch or the M1 Pro? It depends what you're going to use it for. So if you're going to be doing light tasks, I'll tell you what, I'm going to categorize this out for you now because Apple have made it quite simple. So if you're looking for a new MacBook, and I might actually make a video about this to help you choose which MacBook is right for you. So this is it, okay? If you want a MacBook just to browse the internet and you just are going to be doing a little bit of photo editing, fiddling around with your snaps that you took on holiday, or things like that, then the MacBook for you is the MacBook Air, the new M1 MacBook Air. If you are going to college or to university or school, and you're required to do amateur videos, okay? So you are going to be doing videos that are a little semi-professional. You record them on your iPhone 12 Pro or your iPhone 12 or anything like this, and you're going to be editing them, fiddling around with that. Or maybe you're a starter, you're a blogger on the internet, just starting out. The MacBook Pro 13-inch is the right model for you. If you are above that, so let's say your job is photo editing, let's say you are a wedding photographer, let's say that, or for example, you run a YouTube channel and you're a British guy and you look like this guy here, for example, then you need a 16-inch MacBook Pro because you need that larger display. In fact, that's what I've got right here. You can't actually see it. In fact, let me lift it up. There we go. Can you see that? That's the back of my MacBook Pro there. It's got a case on the end of it. But I've got a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and there is a massive price difference now between them. So yeah, especially now the MacBook Pro 13-inch doesn't come in speed variants anymore, so you don't get a faster MacBook Pro now. Because you used to, you could pick like the i5 or the i7, and pick your graphics. Being you can't do that with the 13-inch MacBook, there is a massive jump now to a MacBook Pro. In fact, I think it's going to be about 1,000. It's over $1,000 increase. I think it is now. So yeah, that is absolutely huge. So yeah, if you can justify an extra $1,000, then get yourself a 16-inch MacBook Pro. If you can't justify it, stick with the 13-inch. Don't get me wrong. Like what Craig just said there in that video, Big Sur has been optimized with the new Macs. So the likes of doing 4K editing and 8K editing videos, for example, will work far better than the Intel integrated processors what are in the 13-inch Mac. So yeah, but I still believe the 16-inch MacBook Pros will come up on top and wipe away the 13-inch right now. But the only way we're going to be able to fully 100% confirm this is by benchmarking coming out when these new Macs come out. So I've got another question here. If you were going to go for a MacBook Pro, which one would I get? Like I just said, it depends. I do like the idea of the 13-inch and that battery life. That MacBook Pro 13-inch is very, very good. But like I said, it depends. It really depends on what you're going to be using it for. If you're just going on Facebook, or if you're just watching the stream, what I'm doing here, or just browsing, if you're just doing things in Office and Word and PowerPoint and da 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 da, MacBook Air all the way, all the way. If you're going to be using Photoshop more than say 2 or 3 times a week, and Final Cut Pro more than 2 or 3 times a week, then I would say get the 13-inch MacBook Pro. And then if you're going to be getting something, if you're going to be using it every day, 16-inch MacBook Pro. Easy said. There we go. Next person says here, I'm thinking about buying a iPad Pro, but should I buy the latest one or wait for the new one? Good question. See, the question I would say back to you, that was is it Tacky? So Tacky, answering your question here. If you were going to buy the iPad Pro, is it the 11-inch one you're planning on buying? Because if it is, get yourself the iPad Air. As silly as it sounds, get yourself the iPad Air, which just come out. The reason is it's got an A14 processor inside it, and that A14 processor is just a smidge slower than the A12Z. Oh, sorry, 12.9-inch. Okay, but I'll get onto it anyway. But if anybody else here is going to get themselves a iPad Pro, and you're going to get the 11-inch, don't bother right now. Yes, it's got a ever so slightly bigger battery. But there again, the A14 is more efficient, the processor, than the A12Z, so kind of balances itself back out. I would personally say get yourself an iPad Air 4 or the iPad 2020 model. The reason is it's costing like about $200-300 cheaper straight away, and the things you'll be missing is the LiDAR sensor, if you're going to even use that. That's for like AR and things like that, really. And the camera setup on the back. Who walks around really taking pictures on their iPad? Not many people, apart from kids mainly, and maybe really professional people. No one really does that. They use their phone. The other big thing I think you would be missing, or 2 things missing, is you'd be missing that 120 hertz refresh rate on the display. But I've got an iPad Pro 11-inch, and I just got rid of it for my iPad, but I couldn't actually tell much difference in the refresh rate on the 60 hertz and 120 hertz, mainly because the screens are LED LCD screens, mainly probably because it's that. They're not like the AMO LED displays that you get like on your iPhone. So or other Android phones with 120 hertz display plus. I can't see it really. And I've actually, not bragging, I've got good eyesight as well. So I wouldn't do that. The only other thing you're missing is Face ID on the iPad Pro, and you get the Touch ID. But yeah, back to the 12.9-inch one. If you can hang in there, wait till March next year, definitely. Because at the end of the day, the difference between an A12 chip and an A12Z, so this is the A12Z, what's in the iPad Pro 2020 model, compared to the A12 that was in the iPhone 10s and the iPhone 10 R, is about a 40% increase in speed. So if they put A14X or an A14Z processor inside the iPad Pro next year, expect a 40% increase. That's what I'd say. So if you can hang out to March next year, I would definitely recommend hanging out to then to get that. So yeah, hope that answers your question. The only other thing I would say is that, don't get me wrong, the current iPad Pros are super fast, super snappy, and really, really quick, and they're going to be supported for years to come. But yeah, if you can get yourself, the other thing to say to buy is actually buy a 2018 iPad Pro, what has an A12X inside it. It's only a smudge slower. In fact, in quite a lot of benchmarking tests, the A12X, what's in the 2018 iPad Pros, it's actually faster. Just keep that quiet. The only thing you're missing is that LiDAR sensor and the extra camera. But apart from that, it's exactly the same design as well. So if you can get a 2018 iPad Pro 12.9-inch on a good deal, buy that. Cool. Right then, let's have a look. We'll other questions here. How many years will the new 13-inch Air and Pro last? And that's from Harsh. So I'm guessing, Harsh, what you're meaning about are you meaning about support, basically? So how long will Apple support it in their operating system updates and security updates? The answer to that is about it's about 7 to 8 years, give or take. The reason why between that 7 to 8 years is right now Apple still support 2012 MacBooks. So in fact, they still support the last unibody 2012 MacBook Pro, the 13-inch one. This is the one where you could actually take out the hard drive and the RAM and change the bits inside it. They still actually do support that one, if I'm correct, or is it the Retina one? But anyway, it was 2012 models anyway. And that's 8 years ago. Next year, I don't think they will be supporting them anymore. Those ones that will probably move up to 2013 or 2014. So that's why I say 7, 8 years, year or two take on it. So if you buy a brand new Mac today, brand new one, what comes out next week, then you're definitely guaranteed about 7 to 8 years of new OSs and security updates going forwards. So that is a big, big positive there. So let's see what else other people are asking here. Should I trade in my MacBook Pro 2020 i7 2.3 for the 1700 M1 MacBook? No. It's a simple answer. No, don't. The reason is it's very likely your i7 2.3 gigahertz MacBook Pro 13-inch is actually faster. And I'm not joking there. So what Apple just did there, and I've said this earlier after the video just finished, is Apple do a bit of a cheeky thing when they compare to previous models. When they go, this is 2.5%, whatever, 2 times faster, that's it, 2 times faster than the previous model. Oh, this is 1.5 times faster than the previous model. Do you know what they're actually comparing it to? They're actually comparing it to the base model of the MacBook, what was on the previous design. So right now, well, up until earlier today or yesterday, the baseline MacBook Pro 13-inch was an 8th generation Intel processor one. And that MacBook, actually, the 8th generation, has been out now for over 18 months. They've not refreshed it. So yeah, and then by the time they actually put that 8th generation processor in it, the Intel one, the 9th generation was just coming out. So put an 8th gen in. So it's a bit cheeky. In fact, the mid-range one, what you're talking about there, the i7 2021, you have a 10th generation Intel. And I bet you, I'm quite sure of it, it's faster than the M1 processor. And I know this for fact probably because basically this is what always does happen. If you look at benchmarks like Geekbench 5, for example, if you look, you'll see, for example, say the 2016 MacBook Air 13-inch, the top two models, I think it had an i7 and an i5, the top two i7 and i5 processors you could buy in 2016 were faster than the base models of the 2017 13-inch MacBook Pros. And that was the base one. And that's just giving an example there. They always overlap each other. They kind of overlap. So this is what I say. Apple are very, very cheeky. And that's one thing I didn't like in this event. I'm going to say that I'm going to give my biggest negativity of this whole event was Apple, what they do. They keep saying, oh, this is 3 times faster than the leading class laptop that was being sold in 2020. And I said this earlier. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself here, but the leading class, the one that's been the Mac, laptop that's been sold the most in 2020. I don't know what model it is, but I bet you it's about a $350, £320, €330 laptop. That's what it is. And basically, yeah, they're comparing a 999 MacBook Air MacBook Air to that. Of course, it's going to be faster. Of course, it is. And that's the whole thing. As Steve Jobs once said, I think it was the after an Apple event in 2009 or something like this, he said, "We don't ship junk," and he literally meant that. He said, "We sell the best in the class. We will sell you the best screen, the best processors, the best everything that we can do." That is why they don't make budget things or budget phones. And if they are budget, they're still premium. Look at the iPhone SE. Yes, it's an older design, but it's got an A13 Bionic processor inside it. An A13 Bionic processor inside it is probably about as fast as an 8th generation Intel processor. i5, what was in those MacBook Pros, what they were just comparing it to. Probably as fast as that. But that's the point, and that's in a $400 iPhone. They do not ship junk. They ship the best. So for them to compare themselves to junk and say we're better than junk, well, yeah, of course you are. It's a bit of a silly thing to say, actually, in my opinion. So yeah, let's answer a couple more questions from you guys. Why is the MacBook Pro so much more expensive with the most minor upgrades? It's just one of those sort of things that Apple love to do, I hate to say. It's what they've always done. So I've just ordered a iPhone 12 mini and an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and they're coming this Friday. I'm going to be doing a review for both those phones, so make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't done already to watch those reviews. They're coming this Friday. They're going to be awesome. Can't wait to review both of those phones. But anyway, the iPhone 12 mini, when I was ordering it, I had a choice of 64 gigabytes or 128 gigabytes. And when I thought about it, it's only a 64 gigabyte difference, but it costs $50 more to pick it. I picked it because I'm a sucker. But when I think about it, you go on Amazon and you buy yourself an SD card. And if you picked yourself a 64 gigabyte SD card, it'll probably cost you something like about $12, yeah, 64 gigabyte. And if you pick the 128 gigabyte one, it'd probably cost you something like about $20. $8 increase for doubling your space. And then you look back at Apple and they're going $50. It's always the way they do it. I hate to say, Apple always done this. In fact, I think some other people here on YouTube have said if you buy an iMac, buy it. If you spec up basically your processor, spec up your graphics, but leave the RAM on the minimalist amount, on the lowest amount. And when you get it, open up the tray underneath the iMac and upgrade the RAM yourself, because Apple charge a fortune. The Mac, by the way, on the iMac, you can still upgrade the RAM, unless they're about to change that. But yeah, they charge an absolute fortune to give you more RAM, and it's ridiculous. So you can just do it for yourself. But unfortunately, with the new MacBook Pros and the MacBook Air and the Mac Mini, you won't be able to. So you have to pay that premium price, unfortunately. It's just what Apple do. It is annoying. It is silly, and I don't like it, but just one of those things. Let's see what else other people are saying. A redesigned MacBook Pro 16-inch, and that's from Dennis. You won't see that happening anytime soon. I can guarantee you that because the MacBook Pro 16-inch is the latest design. Remember, we had the 15.6-inch design, and we're now at 16-inch design. I used to have a 15.6-inch Touch Bar Mac, and I had my 16-inch MacBook Pro here. The designs, even though they've got the Touch Bar, the 16-inch one I have here is much thicker because it's got more space to breathe, because that was a problem with the old ones. It's got that new keyboard, the Magic Keyboard instead of the Butterfly keyboard. That design is staying, and I can probably tell you now that design of the 16-inch MacBook Pro is probably going to stick around for at least another 3 years. So sorry, that's bad news, but they've just done the redesign. They're not going to change it again. It's unlike Apple to keep a design for 1 year and then do it. Just look at iPhones, look at iPads. They keep the design for a long, long time. Right, let's see what else other people are asking here. What do I think about a virtual machine running on M1? Now, that is a super good question. Now, one thing what M1 does stop you from doing is if you run boot camp. If anybody knows what boot camp is, or if you don't know what boot camp is, more like it's the ability to run Windows on your Mac as a separate startup. So you hold down your power button, and then you hold down the option button on your keyboard, and then you can pick between booting into Mac, booting into Windows. Obviously, you have to set this up through the boot camp wizard, what's on your Mac. And it uses the Intel processor, your RAM, and blah, 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 blah. Because at the end of the day, it's just a PC at the end of the day. That's all your Mac has been up to this point. So now that looks like it's all been thrown out the window. You won't be able to do boot camp because I think it's very unlikely to be able to run Windows natively straight off the processor. So virtualization is key here. Now, there was no mention of VMware, was there, or anything like that? Now, as much as you could say Mac is a rival to Windows, they're in each other's pockets. They're in good each other's books. They get along. Multiple times in the past, we've seen Windows come along and talk about themselves. In fact, the MacBooks that were last generation of MacBooks came with the Touch Bar. They brought off the guys from the Office team on, and they showed them what you could do with the Touch Bar with Word, PowerPoint, Excel. It was brilliant. It was really good. They have a really good relationship. So in that side, they're not really competition in that. But with Windows, then I didn't see anything from like VMware or anyone like those guys or the Fusion guys talking. So maybe they need more time. I reckon it'd be possible. I reckon it will be. It's just going to take a long time to do it, and I'm sure Apple will help out. Apple like doing this. They don't just try to keep everybody sticking to their software. They want you to buy their product and use their product to do creativity. And if that requires you to use Windows, they will help a way for you to get Windows on your Mac. Because at the end of the day, from their point of view, they've sold you the Mac. End of. I've sold you the Mac. I've made my money. Yes, they make more money off Final Cut Pro and all of this sort of stuff, but that's why they wouldn't be boasting more like about Photoshop, because Photoshop's available on Windows and Mac, and that's why they talk about Photoshop and Lightroom and all of this stuff, because they've got really good relationship with it. So same idea. I think there will be virtualization for Windows. You just won't get a boot camp. So it does mean splitting out parts of your hard drive, splitting out a part of your RAM, and maybe those cores you might be able to tap into and split them out from the M1 chip. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think they might sell more Macs when that does come along, and I think that's coming next year. So, next of all, let's see. Do the current 16 MacBook Pros overheat? Not for mine, what I've been using. They've been absolutely fine for me. I've not had any problems whatsoever with it. They breathe far more better. I think it's something that Apple love to do, don't they? They like to make their phones smaller and thinner. Well, not smaller, thinner. Thinner. Everything's got to be thinner with Apple. Oh, we made it thinner. We made it thinner. And it bit their leg when they made the Touch Bar ones. They were starting to overheat with the i9 processors and some of the i7 processors. They were starting to overheat. So Apple, in the end, had to redesign the 16-inch MacBook Pro and make it slightly thicker for it to breathe better, so you wouldn't get overheating issues and throttling at the same time. Also, at the same time as well, you get a bigger battery because it's thicker, so you actually get a better battery life on the MacBook Pro. So that's really, really good. Let's see what other questions we've got here. Yeah, it is the first iteration of the silicon chip. Now, that is true. What someone's just said here. Who said that? Is that Fad coding? He said that. So it's the first iteration of the M1 chip. Now that is something to be wary or not wary of. Now, Apple, when they moved over from the Power PC chips in 2005, 2006, whenever it was, the first MacBook Pros and Macs weren't that reliable. I'm going to say that now. They were reliable, but they weren't. They had to learn a lot of lessons to make it better. And that is one of the key things here. If you can hang out another year, if you've got a good enough MacBook Pro right now or MacBook Air, and you're not looking to upgrade right now, if your machine can last, it's not just like it's only a couple of years old, and you're going to get software updates the next couple of years, hang out there a little bit. Because what happens is there's lessons learned. At the end of the day, if we think about I'm going to say the iPad 2, okay? Or even the iPhone 3G, not the iPhone original 3G, what was the second one? Let's stick with the iPad. So the original iPad, when it came out, was a fantastic device, but it had some flaws. It was thin, but it was thick. That's the best way I can describe it. It was thin, but it was thick. It didn't even have a webcam at the top of it. It didn't have a camera. The display was okay. The battery life wasn't the best, but basically, Apple learned a lot from releasing the first iPad out into the wild, and they could design and make a new design in the iPad 2. They put a camera in it, and in the end, the iPad 2 was so good that they kept on selling it for about 3 or 4 years after it was released. It was a budget one, a bit like the iPhone 10R, what's out right now. You can still buy it right now; it's still available. And that came out a couple of years ago because it's such a good iPhone, and they want to keep it. So yeah, that's a big kind of lessons learned sort of thing. That's why the iPhone 10 got stopped straight away. Nothing wrong with the iPhone 10, but they just pushed it off to one side immediately because they wanted to bring out a new model under that. So yeah, if you can hang out there, I'd wait for the M2 personally, because I bet you the M2 is the one to get. The M2 will be better. Well, obviously it will be better than the M1, but I think it will give us much more bits and pieces as well. Next one says here, when can we see a review of these Macs? Well, I might get myself a Mac, one or two of the Macs, a MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air. I might pick one or the other out of those two. I'm not too sure, but the Mac Mini I'm probably most likely is the ones to get. The reason is because the Mac Mini is probably the one that you can probably push the hardest to get the best speed out of it. Because in a desktop form, you're not restricted by battery power or anything like that, mobile power. Straight power from your electricity outlet, straight into it. So I reckon, yeah, I'm going to be doing a review on the Mac Mini most likely, but I might do one on the MacBook Air or Pro. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to have a little bit more of a think of it, but yeah, I probably will be doing a review on that one. Can we use Windows laptops as a monitor screen for the Mac Mini? Don't know. Maybe there's an app out there to do that. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. You'd have to look into that, I'm afraid. Which was a good buy between the Air or the Pro? I've said this earlier. I'll say it again just quickly here. Sorry, guys, I'm repeating myself if you've been around since near the beginning of this chat. Basically, if you are a person who is just going to be using your Mac for just going on the internet, shopping, browsing, bit of photo editing from your day out or your holiday or your snaps in photos, maybe opening up Photoshop once a month or whatever or something like that. MacBook Air, all the way for you. If you are a bit beyond that, and also if you're doing Word or PowerPoint or Excel, yeah, perfect. Use it. Get that one. If you're a bit more beyond that, let's say you're at college or you're at university or something like that, and you need to do a bit of amateur photo editing in Photoshop and Final Cut Pro. So you're opening up Final Cut Pro and Photoshop maybe once or twice a week. The 13-inch MacBook Pro is the model for you. If you are beyond that, let's say you are a wedding photographer, or maybe you make videos as a living, as it were, or you do music editing as a living, MacBook Pro 16-inch is the one for you, hands down. That's the one I'd buy. And that's the way how I do it. Like I said, I might actually make a video of which Mac is right for you in the next week or so, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. It says here, I won't be getting the new Mac because there are no design changes and has only two USB-Cs. Like I said, was that two? I can't pronounce it. Is it Mania? Mania? Well, like I said, Mania, I think you've only just joined recently in this chat. The new design MacBooks will be next year for the 14-inch MacBook Pro, that is. Maybe the Air as well. You won't get a 16-inch refresh, but yeah, it will be next year. The reasoning behind that is Apple do this all the time. They basically keep the specs of their last MacBook, and basically, when I say specs, RAM, processor, blah, 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 and put it in their new design. They always put spec changes in their old design first, and then when they bring out their new design, they move that same specs into their new design, because they need to be confident that those specs work in the older design first before moving into a new one. A big reasoning behind this is look at the 12-inch MacBook. So the 12-inch MacBook is one of the MacBooks we thought might have come back today, and it didn't. And the reason is because it was a good idea on paper, but it was flawed with problems. The M3 processor was rubbish inside it. It was overheating. It was throttling. It was either underpowered or it was either using too much electricity. It was too hot, and it was throttling, so it was slowing down. And the butterfly keyboard in it was awful. So this was their new keyboard invention. In fact, it's in the MacBook Pros up to 2018-ish. It was rubbish. And in fact, there's a recall change that you can get your keyboards upgraded if you wanted or changed because of that. And that's still ongoing right now. It was a mistake. So this is what Apple like to do. They like to put specs in an older design and then they upgrade to a new design later on. Let's see what else we've got here. Without the fan, will the MacBook Air face thermal issues? And that's something I did talk about a bit earlier on this chat. And the answer to that is yes. I don't know. No, I'm going to say yes. I don't know. No, I'm sure Apple have done tests with that. But it does beg the question, what I said earlier on. If the M1 chip is identical in the MacBook Air to the MacBook Pro, it's the same speed, same everything, why would you buy yourself the Pro over the Air if it's the same speed? It's the idea of the Pro. It's meant to be faster. It makes no sense. The only thing I can think of is, like you just said there, the Pro has a fan, and the Air doesn't. So maybe the Air does throttle and slow down a bit, and then the Pro doesn't because it's got the fan. So in fact, the Air is slower if you use it quite a bit. It will give it demanding tasks to do. So maybe it's done on purpose. We don't know. But I don't know if Apple would want all that bad publicity. I'm not sure. I'm getting a feeling the M1 processor has got different speeds, but we'll have to see when benchmarking comes out. So I'm just going to do a couple more questions, guys, and I'm going to wrap this up for you. So yeah, please let me know some questions below, and I'll pick one or two of them after this one here, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. So next one. Should I get a refurbished 16-inch i9 5500 or wait to get the MacBook 13-inch €500 difference for me? What do you recommend for web development and content creation? Well, straight away, the 16-inch i9 5500 will absolutely rip the pants off the 13-inch one. I guarantee you that. It's always been the way. At the end of the day, a refurbished one, if you took away the word refurbished and you said new, we're talking $1,000 price difference, aren't we? So straight away, I can tell you now, the i9 is far quicker. That's why the 16-inch MacBook Pros were not announced today with the M1 chips in them, because the speed's not there yet. It will be, just not there yet. So right now, I'd get if you need it, I'd get it. But you've asked a question there about content creation. Depends what kind of content you're creating. So if you're doing it for like this, vlogging on a YouTube channel, if you're just starting out, get yourself a 13-inch one. That will do the trick for you. If you're just recording off your phone and things like this, if you go into full-on DSLR recording or full-on video recording properly, get yourself a 16-inch i9. A lot of people, it's one thing I hate people doing, it's really, really bad, is people buy a super spec model, yet they don't need it. It's just a thing. It's like buying a sports car. You know, if you lived in a city and you owned a Lamborghini, yeah, what can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, yeah, but you lived in the middle of New York City. Where in the middle of New York City can you go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds? You can't. It looks nice, it's very beautiful, but can you use it to its potential? No. You have to go out. You have to go out of the city to use it to its full potential. You have to go to a track. You have to do it like that. It's kind of it's not a waste. It is a waste because you just can't use it to its potential. Now, that's the thing with Macs as well. As much as it's tempting to go, oh, I can get a more powerful one, it's not the case. Remember, Apple also do this as well. So I did talk about earlier about support. So people going, well, if I buy a more powerful one, it will last longer. No. Is the answer to that. No, it's not it, especially with Apple with their software. So Apple always stop refreshing their MacBooks based on the year of the MacBook. So the year it came out. So hilariously, I remember reading this. Okay, you'll like this one. In 2016, okay, when the MacBook Pro 13-inch models came out. In fact, no, it was 2017, so 3 years ago. 3 years ago, the 13-inch i5 MacBook Pro came out, yeah, and it cost you something like about same sort of price it is now, $1,300 for the base model. Did you know that the 2011 15-inch MacBook Pro, yeah, was actually faster than that 2017 13-inch MacBook Pro, the top end one. Yet Apple stopped support for it. So you had a super powerful 15-inch MacBook Pro was actually slightly faster than the newest 13-inch MacBook Pro, yet it wasn't getting software updates anymore. They binned it. They stopped it. And yet the 13-inch one was less powerful. Yeah, you can still get upgrades. In fact, you'll get upgrades for the next 5 years. In fact, now in 2020, it's still getting updates. How crazy is that? That's how Apple do it. They do it on the year it came out, not on the power. So as much as you could be tempted to buy the more powerful model, it will get the same life expectancy. They never ever base it on how powerful it is. They base it on what year it came out, if they retire it or not. So yeah. Intel i3 or M1, please. M1 will definitely be faster. I can tell you that now. At the end of the day, like the MacBook Pro, the last generation, had i5 processors in it. They had 8th gen and 10th generation i5 processors in them, and just straight away, it beats it, hands down. It'll beat it, and they're claiming that as well. So I believe that they will be ever so slightly faster. So yeah, that they'll be ever so slightly more faster, the M1, than probably the top range 2000 and early 2020 MacBook Pro that came out. Don't get me wrong, if you can get yourself an Intel MacBook Pro refurbished from 2020 with a 10th generation, buy that over the M1. Because at the end of the day, it's still going to get 5 years of support out of it, just like the M1's going to get about 5.5 years support, 6 years support, not 5 years, sorry, 7 years support, where the M1 will probably get 8 years support. Nothing in it. And probably by then, you probably would have sold it, wouldn't you? Let's be honest. So, yeah, if you can get a good one on good deal, get the Intel one with an i5 over that. It's still very, very powerful. Right, let's two more questions, and then I'm gonna have to call it a day, guys. So let's have a look. Xcode on a MacBook Air, how should it run? On the current MacBook Air, it should work quite well. I would be honest. it should be easy. If you're making simple apps and things like this, it should be working fairly well. If you're making full 3D coding and lots and lots of tasks running on your code, no, you should be upgrading to a MacBook Pro. But on the new MacBook with the M1, I bet it'll probably be better because, like I said, Apple have built their processors and Big Sur at the same time, built them up from the ground up, and so because of that, it will probably work better together. Things like Xcode, for example. So yeah, good question. Should I get the 16 GB RAM or is 8 enough? Depends what you're going to do. So I'm guessing you're talking to the what's this one here? So yeah, I guess you're talking about the MacBook Pro 13-inch model. So the 13-inch model, it depends. So if you've got, say, if you're using Safari and you've got 10 tabs open, you've got Photoshop open, and you've got something like iMovie open, 16 GB of RAM, definitely. If you've got 2 tabs of Chrome open and you've just got Photoshop open, that's it, and maybe just one picture with about up to 5 layers inside it, for example, 8 gigs of RAM, no problem. Anything more than that, I would, a bit more, I'd top it up to 16 GB. Let's have a look. What else have we got here? Can we use a Type-C hub hyperdrive which has Thunderbolt 3 for the new Mac Thunderbolt 4? It should be backwards compatible. They've always have been. So yeah, you'll probably only be able to use that Type-C hub if it's a Thunderbolt 3 hub. You'll probably only get Thunderbolt 3 speeds. So just like USB 3.0, you can plug in USB 2.0, 1.0 devices into it. You only get the 1.0 or 2.0 speeds. You won't get the 3.0 speeds. Same theory with Thunderbolt. If it plugs in, you'll just get the speed of what the device was built for. Okay, guys. Let's have a look. Let's just do one more questions. Sorry, guys. What is your feeling after and before the event? Are you satisfied or expected more? That is a very good question, Joshua, and that's a great question to end the session on. Let's do that then. So, I thought we were going to get a 12-inch MacBook. I'll be deadly honest with you. I really thought we were going to get a 12-inch MacBook. And loads of leaks actually pointed that way. Kamea, who's one of the leakers, has been like 99% accurate, all his leaks in the last couple of years, and he got this one wrong. So he led me down the dark path. But he did say there was a 13-inch MacBook refresh, and that did happen, so we'll forgive him. But yeah, there was no 12-inch, so I was a little bit doing that, and I was hoping the 12-inch would become like the Mac Mini, if that makes sense. It would be your, I hate to say it, your budget MacBook. I was hoping, if anything, the 12-inch MacBook was going to be called the MacBook SE. That would be cool, wouldn't it? If we had a MacBook SE, that would be awesome. I think that would sell like hotcakes, and there wasn't. So I am disappointed with that. So yeah, we didn't get that. Some of the things that we were another thing I was disappointed with was not to see the new AirPods Studios. So these are the big headphones that are rumored to come. Check out my videos here on my channel about that. If you haven't done already, and I'll be making some more videos when we hear more bits and pieces, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for that. And the other thing was AirTags, but there again, AirTags, I spoke a bit earlier about it, is understandable, because with AirTags, if we're right in the middle of COVID, like we are right now, Apple can't really be going out shouting, oh, here we go, here's AirTags. You attach them to your devices when you're out and about, and if you lose them, you can find them. You can go back out and find it. They can't really be doing that, can they, during the middle of a pandemic? So, yeah, no, they can't do that. So, yeah, AirTags are on the shelf, and that's understandable. But I would have liked to see these are coming soon sort of thing. But no, we didn't see that. So that is a little bit disappointing. Next, then the actual. So I was expecting that. I knew there'd be a 13-inch MacBook, and I thought there would be the 12-inch MacBook SE. I was not expecting the MacBook Air to be upgraded now. Not that I'm disappointed with that. It just seems a bit weird that Apple had just updated their Air earlier this year, and they updated the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So yeah, it was a bit that. The M1 processor, I think, is really, really good. It is definitely going to wipe the floor of integrated processors that are out now. So yeah, so these are the ones where, like the current MacBook Air, or the MacBook Air was just out, and the MacBook Pro, don't use an external graphics at all. So basically, it's a great replacement for i5 and i3 processors that are in MacBooks and or MacBook Airs and iMacs. So yeah, it's definitely a great replacement for that. I am really impressed with the chipset. I'm really impressed with its low voltage amount. I'm really good with that and the setup with that. But it is early days, and we'll have to see how it will pan out. The thing I was disappointed with the event, and I said this earlier, was their comparisons. Really did not like the comparisons, what they did. They said this is compared to a leading laptop CPU. What laptop? What CPU? We could, a leading laptop CPU right now is a Celeron CPU, could be for all we know. If you know what an Intel Celeron processor is, it's the cheapest of cheap Celeron processor you can buy. So it's really, really bad. So that's like me saying this sports car is 50 times faster than the standard car what is being sold in the US right now. And that is a VW Rabbit or a VW Jetta, you know. Diesel Jetta, 2-litre diesel Jetta. Well, of course it is. This Lamborghini's 50 times faster than that. You can't do that comparison. I was not happy with that. And then they did it later on as well with their MacBooks as well. They were comparing their MacBooks to the best-selling MacBook or the best-selling laptop at the moment. And I've said this already about twice already in this chat, that they're comparing it again to probably a laptop that's worth about $350, 330 euros, £320 where I am from. And you're comparing your $1,000 MacBook to that. Well, yeah, of course your MacBook's going to be faster. Of course your MacBook's going to be better because it costs $1,000 compared to $300 or whatever. So I don't like it that they do that. They need to specify what they're comparing it to. I'm going to say this. Samsung and Huawei and other companies mention, and OnePlus, for example, and with their phones, they mention who they're comparing it to and what models. So it's a bit naughty that Apple just make it up because you could be picking anything off the market, and so I wasn't happy about that at all. So yeah, that was quite disappointing. I was really impressed with the Mac Mini, though. I'm impressed with the Mac Mini, but it's a bit cheeky what they've done there. So obviously they brought out the A12Z developer Mac Mini earlier this year at WWDC, so developers could use it. And all they've just done is just pulled out that A12Z chip, put an M1 chip inside it instead, and gone, here we go, you can buy this now. Don't get me wrong, I think it's it's a good price, that Mac Mini. So I am quite impressed with that, though. So yeah, and that is the model I will be reviewing and testing out, and I'll be trying out bits and pieces. I might try some developer tools and things as well. So yeah, we will see. We will see on that one. The Air and the MacBook Pro, I think the battery lives are incredible. But like I said before, I cannot see the justification of both the MacBooks having the same chip inside them, as silly as that sounds. Because at the end of the day, if they're both the same speed, why pick one over the other? Apart from the MacBook Pro's got a fan, not air, it's got air in it, yeah, because the fan. And the Air hasn't. The Air has no fan. And does that mean then the Air is going to throttle and it'll be slower? And then does that mean bad publicity to Apple? I don't know. So that is a bit of a thing. I thought they might bring out iterations of the chip. So they might have brought out M1 and M1S or X or Z, showing that it's a bit more powerful, or maybe M1P, for Pro. And they didn't. And that is a bit of a disappointment. Maybe in the future, that is something what Apple will do. But we will just have to wait and see what Apple are planning to do on that one. Like I said, I'm going to plan to buy hopefully a Mac Mini and maybe one of the MacBooks as well. And I will be doing a review in the future. If you're new here into this chat though, guys, please do subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell to get those reviews. And also at the same time as well, at the end of this week, I'm going to be doing reviews of the new iPhone 12 mini, and I'm also going to be doing reviews of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So definitely make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button to see those videos. They are coming very soon. Today, I just did a review for this. I'll just pick it up. It was an Xbox Series X, so do check that out on my channel. That video is up now to watch. So yeah, have a look at that review. And obviously, if there's any other latest Apple news and rumors and leaks, I'll be letting you guys know about that in the future. But anyway, guys, I'm going to have to wrap up this video now. It's, what time is it now? So here in the UK, it's 8 p.m. or 2000 hours, whatever time you look at. And yeah, I'm going to have to wrap this up. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me on this live coverage of the One More Thing from Apple, probably the last event from Apple for 2020. We've seen some great devices over the last couple of months with iPads, watches, iPhones, and Macs. And yeah, it looks like Apple on a great path with their transition now for the next 2 years, which just started now, of moving everything off Intel into Apple Silicon M2, M3, or even M1 chipsets going forwards. Well, guys, it's been fantastic. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, thank you guys for watching and tuning in and listening to me rabbiting on. And yeah, keep yourself safe out there. And yeah, make sure you do hit that subscribe button and the bell to get the latest gaming news, tech news, reviews, and comparisons. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.